I'm Ryan Durbin from RD Ceramics, and I'm located in Southgate, Kentucky.
And I'm Becca Otis from Five Lines Pottery in Monroe, Washington. And welcome to Wheel Talk. Hello. Hello, Ryan.
Hi
Hello.
there. We're live. Hello.
Hello. How was your day?
It was good. I had a more productive Monday than I did last Monday because I'm kind of back in the swing of things. I didn't have a full day to recover from my show this weekend. Normally I'll have a Saturday show and then I got a whole day Sunday, but I did get some time to relax and kind of hang out after I got back home because it ended at 4 and I got packed up pretty quick. So I was home by 5 and kind of, hanging out, watching TV a little bit, watching some football and kind of got back into it. And then I had class, worked all day and then class tonight. I did something fun at class tonight. So we at the end of the show yesterday, one of the bread makers that was there had extra bread that they were like getting rid of. So Rachel and I got 3 different loaves of bread and we're like, we're not going to eat all these. And I've never got like fresh bread before, so I have no idea how long they last. I'm assuming they probably don't stay well after like 3 or 4 days. So I took a loaf of bread into class with me for the students and took some like cream cheese and honey and apple butter and stuff like that so they can spread it. And then I took some tea in with me as well. So they got to drink some tea out of some of my mugs with some bread if they'd like. And they're all going to die of silicosis because
Silica bread! Silica bread.
How was your day today?
It was good. I went to go get clay. And by the way, we've already done this once because Ryan already messed up. And so we're kind of like not as funny as we were the first time. We were funnier the first time.
I was trying to speed it up because you were like, get through all this bullshit.
So I went to go get clay, and clay is like an hour and a half away from my house. And if I don't go at the right time, traffic makes it 5 hours. And so I was very lucky, and I got down there and out in 3 hours, so that was really nice. Ate some lunch, and then came back and glazed and loaded a kiln, and here I am. So it was a good day so far. I gotta go back and make a bunch of
I take for granted that I can go like 20 or 30 minutes to go get clay at the nearest or one of the many clay stores that I can get clay from.
Yeah.
Not having to drive 3 hours round trip to get clay.
Yeah, if I went to the one in Seattle, it would take me probably just an hour to get there, but they don't have as good a clay as the other place. But also, I have to say, I didn't say this last time, I had a really good weekend this weekend with the Paint Your Own Pot, and I was so, super stoked about it. And then the bank screwed me over because I thought all my money would be going in on Monday, but it's a holiday today. And so then I was like, when you're like so excited, you're like, Square's going to do this deposit. And you're like, yes. And then it never came. And it never came.
Well, I think they sent an email mid last week or something that was like, by the way, December 14th. December. What am I thinking? October 14th is a holiday.
Yes.
So deposits will be delayed.
Yeah. Screwing everybody up.
What's the topic tonight?
Holiday. Nobody even likes this
What's
holiday.
the topic tonight?
Okay.
And how do we decide on topic? Do we go into that? I kind of like that part of it. So typically, a little behind the scenes for you. If you don't know how we decide what topics to discuss, usually we record this on Monday nights at about 7 Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern, and I'll usually text Becca about 5 hours before and say, hey, Becca, do you want a podcast tonight? Do you want to record? And she'll be like, maybe. Let's see.
And I forget.
And then we decide on a topic, and I'll suggest a topic or something like that. So usually they're pretty spur of the moment. The ideas are run nice and fresh in our minds of what we want to talk about. And, we'll just come up with something and say, hey, is this worth talking about? Or, do we have enough that we can discuss this topic and yeah, that's usually what happens. So very ad hoc tonight. I, called her and texted her like an hour ago and was like, hey, I have this idea for a topic. What do you think about this? So, Becca, what are we talking about?
So, we are talking about, I'm going to see if I can word this right. We're talking about selling at shows, but we're talking specifically about when, your product is up to par and like everything should be selling, but it's not. So, like, what you can or cannot, like, what you can do to help sell your products and like the different specific, like, I guess, the different ways you can kind of go about selling at a show. Like Ryan is a very talkative and in a good way. And he's a seller.
Yes.
And I am not.
Yes.
And so our products kind of reflect that. Like, I probably sell less than Ryan does, but I also don't need as much anyway. But I think we've all gone through that thing, that moment where you're like, damn it, why is this not selling? Like, why am I going to the show and everything's good and the person next to me is selling so much stuff and I'm not selling anything? Like, why is this happening? And yeah, so we're just kind of gonna talk about that and see if we have a solution for it.
Or just give you some ideas, because there's not one way to sell, just because I use a certain, way of selling things doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Maybe your personality doesn't cater to that, or your products don't cater to that.
Right.
So, we'll just talk from our experiences of, our different ways and some suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that's kind of, it'll be a free-flowing form, a bunch of ideas coming at you. So,
yeah.
We'll kind of see where this goes.
I'm excited. I don't know about you, but I am excited.
I am too.
Okay, so let's see. Ryan, has there been a time when you were selling and you had a show, like at the very beginning when you started selling? Because you've been selling for what, 4 years?
4 years, yes.
Yeah. So at the beginning when you were like, why is this not selling? Like, what did you change? What were you like, oh, maybe I should change this?
So when I was really early on, I was making just a bunch of different items, and I was just kind of making what I wanted and then trying to pick. I was kind of all over the place. So I had a bunch of different glazes that I used. I did use a consistent, maybe like 8 to 10 color combinations. So I used consistent glazes to help with my color scheme overall. But I was making a bunch of different pieces, whether it was bowls. I was making a bunch of tea bowls back in the day. I was making a lot more vases. A lot of mugs, of course.
Also, your cups were tiny. Your cups. You had cups.
My cups?
And they were tiny.
Oh. Yeah, I was making a lot of cups, and I was making a big variety of items, and just kind of like, okay, I was making batches of 10 or 15 of this item, but they didn't really look consistent. They were just like, oh, they're in the mug family, but they don't really look production style.
Right.
And then I was putting glazes across, 4 mugs that looked kind of similar, or just the glazes were kind of the common thing across those items to get them together, or to, have that similarity. And then over time, I started to take customer feedback of like keeping track. I've been doing this since I started, but keeping track of exactly what types of items we're selling. So, I use Square. So an easy thing is to use categories and items. So use, mug is one item, cup is one item, bowl is one item. And you keep track at a high level. If you're selling on Square or anything like that, and you can keep track of a type of item by category, do that at the baseline. Like, as a first step, keep track of what exactly is selling based on the type of item it is. That's going to at least give you some data to go off of how many things did I sell in this category over time, like in this year. And then that's going to at least give you something to look at to see, you know, quantity wise, how many of them am I selling? And then like money wise, how much does this make up in relation to all the money that I've made? You know, am I not selling an item? Is it priced too high? That's going to tell you like, hey, no bowls have sold in like 3 months. Am I pricing them too high? Is it the colors? Like stuff like that. So that's something that I got some feedback on early that kind of gave me some insight of like what items were worth making more of and not so much.
Right.
So that's like the first step, I would say, when I was like really early on. And then kind of where to go from there. I don't know. What would you say your like early learnings were when you were first starting, or what your inventory looked like?
Right. So when I first started selling, I had 9 colors, I think. I had 9 colors, and I was pretty like, I think from the very beginning I've always had like, oh, I'm going to have bowls, like a line of items instead of just random items. I've always been like, okay, I'm going to have sponge holders, I'm going to have mugs, I'm going to have cups, I'm going to have bowls, and very specific ones. I have never, I've tried to keep track like Ryan does, and I can't because I don't use Square for my sales because they're central cashiers. So I, so it's a little bit more difficult. I have to do it on paper or other ways, but I just don't do it. And so, but at one point I tried, and I don't think it really helped me all that much. But for me, what was the most important thing for me was actually the way my booth looked and the display of my booth. So instead of focusing on are my products kind of like cohesive, because they've always been fairly cohesive, instead of focusing on that, I focus on if my booth is up to par with the way I want things to move. So I place things in specific places so that people see them first. And I've had probably 10 different shelving styles because every time I do a shelf, I think of something else, and I see how people approach the booth. So I kind of take more of a psychological point of view to selling because I have so much space to use because I'm in a 10 by 20 booth. I've always kind of like put the mugs in the middle, and then I've put all the other stuff, or I'll put pinch pots on the outside and I'll say something, hey, a pinch of this, a pinch of that. And I realized using little catchy phrases was what was actually selling my products. It wasn't my products themselves. It was people would walk by and say, what's a pinch pot? And then on the bottom it says a pinch of this, a pinch of that. And they're like, oh, that's so cool. And they walk to it. Now I have signs that say mise en place bowls. Nobody knows what mise en place bowls unless you know what it means, which I didn't. Mm-hmm. And so I grab people in with the small stuff and then use that to kind of like lure them in. And so it's all kind of been about like psychology for me, and how, is that the right word? Am I saying it right? Is it psychology? It's like, it's all about, I'm not good with vocabulary. That's my problem, but I like to use
buyer. I mean, it's kind of buyer psychology. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of psychology, I guess. Psychology.
So for me, it's never been about keeping track of items. It's more been about placing your items in the right spot so that they are attractive to people. And it's worked.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, I mean, looking back, I think the most beneficial thing is, for me, has been cutting out the items by product that do not sell, that are not worth making, that do not, bring income in. They sit too long. Yeah. I think that, like, at a high level is an easy thing to look back on and say, yes, this is important.
Yeah.
Or I guess this
for
has helped me sell better.
I've never really had, I've pretty much stayed with the same type of items throughout my entire selling. I think it's just because, and I've even taken items out that sold really well, like Buttercrocks, but I think I just subconsciously do
But what
that.
it
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I always had like a little thing for how to display items in a way that, didn't clutter up the shelves and group
Right.
them with similar colors, and then like keep your eye moving up and down, so like you don't have all the same level things on the same shelf, so it all looks very cohesive, like the same. It kind
Mm-hmm.
of keeps you space it appropriately, like depth wise, so that the larger things are in the back and your eyes can move and stuff like that. Like I think I've always had that in the back of my brain when I'm setting up. Like I feel like I'm skilled at that, but I don't know. Like what if someone makes three different types of items? Like, where would you say they should go from there? If they make mugs, bowls, and pitchers, or mugs, bowls, and vases, like, and they're not selling,
No, that's hard.
what would you say from there? Like, what are their learnings? Because they're not like me, and they don't start out and they're making too many items or too many types of
I
forms
think
or too many glazes or
so. Here's what I've observed from other people, not me. Like, there's this lady in Portland who makes the most amazing bowls. That's all she sells is these bowls. And she makes so many different sizes and so many different colors. And they're not glazed on the outside, they're glazed on the inside. I think she uses stroking coats. But they're phenomenal. And she sells so well. And the only thing she sells is bowls. And so
do you want to say who that is,
I can't remember who it is.
so people can look them up if they want to?
I'll try and find it. I literally cannot
Okay.
remember who it is. But
But she's a skilled bowl maker, and that's what brings people to the booth and
yeah.
what grabs their attention.
Yeah, and the thing is that she has all different colors, like the entire rainbow. And she doesn't, she never there's nothing special except for everything special, if that makes any sense. Like her craft is impeccable.
You mean it's so simple because she makes just bowls,
Yeah.
but there's so much to them.
Yeah, her craft is impeccable. Her colors are fantastic. They're vibrant. Her sizes are varied, and she literally has a table. She has a table and like a side shelf, and that's all she sells on. She does great. And
Yeah. But you think she's refined that over the years?
yeah, I do. And
she's not.
I think
she's not new to this. She knows that
but what she
that's
has
her bread
going,
and butter,
yeah,
and that's like
what she has going for her is the wow factor, right? Everybody's seen a bowl, right? Everybody has seen a pottery bowl, but not everybody has seen that pottery bowl. Like not everybody has seen an overwhelming amount of bowls that they are like, oh my god, I have to have one of these, you know. And I just think that it's, I guess for me, I almost want to say that it comes down to craft versus quantity. You know, like if you're gonna have
okay.
a craft and
But also,
craft and wow factor
sometimes it
versus
doesn't
quantity.
sell itself as well.
Right. Like I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff, and it's not very exciting. It's just a mug. It's like a mug. Some people think it's exciting, but like, it's just a mug and it's got a cool glaze on it. But there's nothing fancy that I've done to it. I put a handle on it. That's it. But what she does,
It's not exciting when you're comparing to other potters, but like for people that don't even know pottery,
right, right,
I think you're downplaying your skill and your expertise
right.
in this thing that you've
My
crafted over time.
my craft is
But
extremely good. Like I've got really good craft. And then there's other people that do things and they sell their, they put decals on their stuff, or they have something that's like a wow factor, and they may not have as much, but they sell more because they have that, like your carving stuff, right? That's kind of like that wow factor. And you can sell a higher priced item, you can sell more of it because it's kind of like a unique item. Um, you always
right.
you always have to find, and you always have to find something, like one thing that is everybody's game. Like for me, it's my mise en place bowls that and the garden sticks, and they're $5, and everybody loves them. And that's what I make most of my money off of.
You're talking about that caters to a lot of customers?
Yeah, like
Is that what you're saying?
you have to find one thing that caters to a lot of customers to draw people in at least. And then I think it
And you don't
moves.
you don't feel like you're like selling out or like doing it as like part of your job to sell because you're like, I know people will buy it.
I feel like
You don't see it that way?
feel like I've compromised. I feel like I am selling out and I'm okay with it.
Right.
I'm like I've
Because there's a reality to the business part of it that you have to sell
Yeah.
things. You can't just be prideful that I'm just going to make what I make
Yeah.
and people will have to like it.
I think there's always one thing that I've heard it from countless makers where there's always one thing where they're like, if I didn't have to make that ever again, I would be okay. I'd be fine. But that's what they make their money off of, whether it be like a certain pattern that sells only or a certain glaze that sells only, you know? And they're like, ugh, I made this. It was, like those hand warmer mugs, I
got asked about one of those this weekend.
I got asked about them in a hair salon 2 days ago. It's like, it doesn't matter what it is. There's always one thing that you're like, I'm just making this to make the money, you know? If you're fortunate enough to not do that, I commend you. And if you can make it be small and make it be enjoyable, why not? You know? What do you think?
You know what's funny about a comment you made earlier? You use signs to draw people in. I have never used a sign in my life. Except, actually, that's not true. So I do have a giveaway sign now that says giveaway sign up here with my thing.
Dude, signs are where it's
mug
at.
that I'm giving away.
Well, the thing is also,
and then the only other sign I have is for the planters that say planters with macrame are this price and planters without are this price. Like, those are the only two signs I have. I don't have a sign that says these are oil bottles, these are spoon rests, these are that, these are this. I don't have signs everywhere to tell people exactly what this thing is used for.
maybe your stuff isn't weird like mine.
I mean, I think that takes some of the... I don't know. I think that not having signs is what sparks conversation and gives me the opportunity in the end to give them my little spiel about whatever they're looking at.
Signs are what sparks conversation to me. See, here's the difference, though. You are going to shows where people know they're going to, and I go to a show where nobody knows that they're going. They just walk on through. So it's more people are walking through our little booth alley than anybody, right? And
Okay.
like they're not coming to our art show for the art. They're coming to Leavenworth for Bavarian Town beer and pretzels. And they're walking through our little art show, and I need the sign to be like, stop! Like, as they're walking away, stop! You know, like my, I don't know why. It's just, maybe it's because my stuff isn't that exciting. All I'm saying is your booth display has a big part of how you sell. It's huge.
Yeah, that's true.
It's huge.
I don't know. It's hard. It is. Yeah.
I've seen so many artists come and go from Leavenworth, and they come in with one little small booth, and they have like their stuff, and they could be the best artist in the entire world or the best photographer in the entire world and not sell a single thing because they didn't have the right display. But if they'd come out, and also quantity, and like, it's all super important. Yeah, I don't know. It just seems.
What do you mean by quantity? Do you mean showing that you can make something consistently and have?
No, just like filling up your space appropriately.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like that shows professionalism and like a craft to it?
Yes.
Or is it more just for like giving customers more options to potentially buy from.
Yeah, giving customers more options. Oh my gosh, like the people at the shows that sell the most, or with my show, have they're photographers. And also what they have is stories behind them too. They have all the stories from when they shot the photos, but they have just bins and bins and bins of photos. Just so many. Their walls are completely full, and it makes a difference. It does. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
But
I think storytelling is part of my being able to sell my work too.
Oh yeah, it's
for
huge.
certain items. Because I definitely sell it, and I put, I don't care if it's the same spiel that I say to every single person. Like, I'm going to tell it because they've never heard that before, even though Rachel's going to get annoyed from hearing it over and over and over. Like, I don't care. Treat them as if they have no idea what they're looking at, or, and if they like the spiel and they, if they enjoy it, like, I don't feel like it's sucking the life out of me to repeat the same thing over and over because they've not heard it. So,
what do you say when somebody, like, what's your classic spiel when somebody picks up just like a regular mug?
So, usually I'll say, so in case you didn't realize, mugs are my favorite thing to make. They're going to be the most variety of those forms here today. You're going to see ones that are smaller for those folks that don't need a lot of coffee or they drink really strong coffee. And then there's larger ones and more detailed ones for, those pieces that I spent a little more time on and whatnot. So that's kind of like a mug spiel I would do.
Mm-hmm.
It's really dependent on what they pick up and what they're interested in. If they pick up certain items, then I will adjust it based on what they pick up. So what I've been doing with my new carved pieces, I have probably like 10% of my booth are the carved pieces. Mm-hmm. And something I'll say is, yeah, those are my newest work I've been working on the last 3 to 4 months. Normally what I've been doing typically is a production line of doing the same thing, and I make like 20 of them and try to do it as efficiently as possible. And then I let the glaze do the talking and the glaze does all the work. With these, I've been slowing down, taking my time and focusing on the design and that part of it more. And then if they're looking at it, I'll kind of talk about the process of how I make it. So I kind of talk about, I'm slowing down, I'm taking more time so that it, like, when they flip it upside down and they look at the price and see that it's more than another one that's sitting there with glaze on it, I've already told them why it's more because I spend more time on it. And then I tell them, like, hey, this is a new thing I'm working on. That's why there's not many of them. And I'm still experimenting. And, maybe I'll say, I'm still getting feedback, but do you have a preference between whether it's raw clay on the outside or it's glazed? And I'll show them the difference between the two, and they'll kind of feel it, and they'll tell me their feedback and that kind of stuff. So they're a little more involved in the, what they're looking at.
And you talk to every single person that enters your booth.
It depends on their mannerisms.
Okay.
I'll definitely, like, if they come in, I'll say, hi, how's your day going? And then they say good. I don't say good. That's too basic. I don't say good. I feel like everyone says good. So I say not too bad.
Not too bad.
I say not too bad. I don't know if that's negative, but I mean, I'll just say not too bad. Going pretty well. And then it usually starts when they pick stuff up or they start looking at things. And that's gonna determine what I say. So if they're looking at spoon rests, I'll say, well, usually they'll ask what they are. So they might say, are these spoon rests or what are they for? And I'll say, yes, they're meant to be spoon rests. If you see these actually have a little lip on them, this is the way that I started making them. And then people started saying, can I use this for a coaster or a soap dish or a ring dish or, to put my tea bag on and my spoon.
Right.
And I started making them without. So if you see, I have a mixture of ones with and without. I encourage you to pick them up because they're in stacks and they're, mixed up with different colors. So as you pick them up, you're going to kind of discover different colors. So I encourage you to pick them up, and that's kind of my spiel for the spoon rest. So I have my own thing for each one, and I kind of tell them the backstory about like how it evolved.
Yeah. And you're genuine.
Like, I think that I think that helps sell it.
Yeah. Oh, I
And
know
like,
that helps sell it.
Another good one. So, if people pick up the beachy glaze stuff, I'll say, like this weekend, I said that's been my most popular seller today. Has been that glaze, and honestly, it's been the most popular this whole year since I started making it
That's
in the
'cause it's
spring.
bomb.
It's been the best seller overall, and it's just such a popular glaze. I think because it's very springtime, it's very summertime, it's very, it makes people think of the beach, and like I kind of tell them that, like, I think telling them that I've had success with this and other people enjoy it, it's the most popular one. I don't think it's a negative to say it's most popular because they don't feel like, oh, everybody else has it because it's the most popular. I think it just shows that like other people really enjoy it too.
Yeah, I definitely.
And
Oh, go on.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that I definitely, the one thing that I sell probably, other than mugs and the mise en place stuff, but the wine glasses are probably one of my highest sellers because my wine glasses are very engineered. They have a very specific way that they are. So, like when they pick up a wine glass, they notice that there's a thumbprint in it, and it's a big thumbprint. It's not like a little one. And they're like, "Oh my God, this fits so nice in my hand." And then I'm like, "Oh yeah." And also, the rim is thin, so it's like drinking out of glass. And the so like the rim is thin. Also, the base is thicker, so they don't tip over. You can drink with them on grass. They won't tip over in grass, and
nice.
They have the thumbprint, so you can get sloshed and not drop it. And I do say that actually. I do say that you can get sloshed.
Nice. I love it.
I try to incorporate as much humor into my booth as possible, and I do notice that when I talk to people and when I'm engaged, that I do sell more. I have a really hard time because they're long days, and I'm super ADD, and so when you don't see a lot of people, then you get distracted. But also, if I'm working on anything, even if I'm working on my computer, I tend to sell more because people are, they see that I am, like, not looking on my phone all the time, and that I am, I don't know, I guess they assume that I'm, like, productive.
So wait, you sell while you're on your computer?
Heck yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I don't have space to take a computer with me, but
yeah.
So I mean, I get that you don't want to like have your phone out and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and like here's the thing. Okay,
that's interesting.
Here's the thing. We have very different selling atmospheres, right?
Yes.
Extremely different selling atmospheres. I sell from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. and there's times where I don't see a person for like 2 hours. So.
And how many other potters are in your
0
show?
So, I'm the only potter. So, and it depends on how busy it is in the town that day. So I'm there for 3 days, right? I'm there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So getting some work done is a must. So, and I'll also sometimes I'll take up my wheel and I'll throw, and I tend to sell pretty okay when I throw. Sometimes I don't sell at all when I throw. I don't know if it actually matters. But for me, it's mostly about not scaring the customer away. I don't want to, they'll walk into the booth and you're like, praise Jesus. And then, so they walk into the booth, you're like, okay, do I have them? And then you say hello. If they're not past the table, they're like, peace out, and they leave. But if you catch them, then you've got them, right? If I can catch a person, I can sell to the person. But if I can't catch them in my booth, I can't sell to them, right? We always make this joke that if you say hello, they just walk away. Like, hi, bye.
But you got to add something to that, right? Do you agree that you have to add something more than just saying hi?
I think you should, yeah.
You have to ask them something that leads them to have to answer besides just saying hi, or just they could like smile and like nod. Like that's kind of a response to a hi.
Yeah.
It's just like, I'm acknowledging that I see you.
Right, exactly. And also, there's times where people are in my booth and I try to say something and they literally don't even hear me. I'll be like, "Hello, how are you?" And they don't say anything. I'm like, "Great, that's fine. I'm doing great too." And, and I have a long booth, it's like a freaking store in there, so it's hard to navigate. I don't know, it's so different. It's so different.
Yeah. Would you say that it's very mental as well with what your expectations are
100%.
and understanding that most of the people are not going to buy your stuff, and that's fine.
100%.
And you can't come in like with the negative attitude that
Yeah, if I'm sick or if I have a negative attitude, I can almost guarantee you that I'm going to have a shitty day. But if I'm having a great day, even if it's raining, this year I had like one of the best days ever while it was raining, one of the best weekends, and I was like in a good mood from moment one. And it was fantastic. And it was such a great show. I definitely think that your mental
So
state...
what would you recommend to clear that mental state so that you're in more of a positive attitude versus getting yourself into that negative side? Or
I think that little things like walking around and talking to other vendors and kind of like before your show, kind of like getting amped up, or however you get in like a good headspace. Like for me, it would be walking around to other people and being like, "How did you do? Like, how are you doing today?" And hearing and like seeing other items and you know telling funny little stories about those. Like that would get me excited about things. And then when I go back to my booth, I'd be like, "Hi, how are you?" Like blah 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 blah, and like super.
or if you're a personality that you're more introvert, maybe you take some time and you get your booth set up in an ample time to where you can go. Maybe you go sit somewhere isolated and you like listen to music for 15 minutes or something like that.
Somebody on Boldly,
so you
the
can
Boldly
clear your head.
podcast, I think it was Heidi. She said that she puts her curtains down and sets up her booth inside. I can't remember which one it was, but that was Heidi. It was Heidi, where she puts her curtains down and then she sets up her booth so she doesn't have to talk to anybody. And I think that is so smart. If you are an introvert, that's so smart to just like be with yourself at the beginning and then you can kind of move out. It's a struggle. I mean, being an introvert and not wanting to talk to people, like that's why I've made my pieces the way that I've made my pieces. And that's why I have signs. So I don't have to talk to everybody. Like I don't like to talk to everybody. I can and I can fake it pretty well, but I'm one of those people that I would like I have bad shows sometimes because I don't talk to people. And but my signs help.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I've done.
Signs. If you're an introvert, get some
signs. Like
maybe that'll help
you can totally message me on Instagram and I'll show you all my signs because I have so many. Like any deal signs, like 5 for $20, I have those on the side of my my garden stakes. And then always put the funny ones in the front so they see them and they laugh. And then like pinch pots, a pinch of this, a pinch of that. By the way, those are thrown; they're not pinched. And like,
and if it sounds exhausting when I was telling my story of like my spiels, then maybe that's not your style.
Yeah, you have to find your style and you have to be comfortable with it, And maybe like, maybe you don't want to talk to anybody, so you have to make your setup look like a freaking bomb ass booth. Like my booth looks like a store. It's got 2 shelves on each side, and they have 7 shelves on each shelf, and they're 8 feet long. It is a store, right? And that is very intentional for people to come in and feel like they're shopping someplace, not that I'm showing them, And
right.
I've done really well with that setup. And I will probably keep it. And I think I might add something to the middle next year. But yeah, I think that you really just have to find your flavor, as you will. If you like talking, talk.
Here's two quick things that I could say that everyone could do.
Yes.
One, if you are at an outdoor show, do not wear sunglasses. Wear either glasses or don't wear sunglasses because you want to be able to engage them with eye contact. If you're wearing sunglasses, you don't seem like you're as engaged, or you're, I don't know. That's a quick, easy thing I would say.
I wear sunglasses when I want to take a nap at a show.
It might sound funny. Oh. And then, oh my gosh.
I've specifically worn sunglasses because I was tired that day.
Okay. I don't know. It seems more like a turn off.
It totally is. Don't do it. Don't wear sunglasses. I'm not saying you should.
Yes. And number two, I would say if you are going to be, I would say either stand so that you're at eye level, or have a seat or a chair that is near eye level, whether it's like a director's chair or something, or a stool without a back on it or with a back on it. Something that is not a struggle for you to get up to engage with them, because it'll seem weird if you're down low and you're talking up to them. You need to be either at eye level or close to eye level where you can easily stand up if you need to.
I need to do that.
Because that just shows that you're it's a better body.
Yeah.
I don't know, if body language, I guess. It's better body language to do that. It doesn't seem like you're more engaged.
Okay, Ryan, next year I'm going to get a director's chair, and then we're going to see if my sales are better. Also, you have to have enough stuff to sell. That's all. That's my problem. I never have enough stuff.
Well, I was thinking body language, things that anybody can do. But yeah, I just got before I was standing up the whole time, and then I evolved it to, it depends on where you're standing. I mean, you can stand to the side of your table or behind your table, but not to where the shelving is like blocking you and you have to like appear from behind it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or you can, I had a stool that I was using that was like off Amazon that was just like no back on it, just, folded up, and it was a stool that was high enough to where I was kind of still standing, but seated a little bit. And then I just got a director's chair like 2 or 3 months ago off Facebook Marketplace.
Do you have a table in front of you?
Taller. It depends on the show I'm at, and where, like, if I have space behind the booth, and depending on my setup of like the back table. I have started sitting behind the table in the director's chair, or like next to it,
like a high table,
and that seems to work okay. The table's probably it's a 30-inch table with at least 4-inch risers, 4-inch bed risers, so it's about 34 inches high, 34 to 36 inches high. And then I'll have the director's chair that I want to say the seat is at least 30 inches high.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like I've been useless in this conversation.
No.
Because I don't really have good show practices. And I know that. But
you have experiences of like what you talked about, your wine glasses and things like that. Like that's things that you can talk about that.
Yeah, that's true.
The customer might not know. Like I actually have 2 or 3 of your wine glasses, and I didn't know that the rim was thin like that, so that it represented a wine glass.
It is. Do you like the wine glass?
Nice. I do. I can totally see, and if the dimple wasn't there, I can totally see it being a turnoff to a lot of women that have smaller hands, or men, I guess. But yeah. I'm guessing mostly women are buying your wine glasses.
Yes.
And like if that dimple wasn't there, they could not grip the wine glass because it is kind of wide.
Yeah, it is a wide glass. Anyway, we're not talking about that. But yeah, no, I think actually you have a lot to say about your like mannerisms, and I have a lot to say about setup. So I feel like with our two kind of perspectives, maybe you could make the perfect booth. That we could, I don't know, it's so interesting being a different, I feel like especially in Washington, sometimes you have to work a little harder to sell pots. But you live in a
And
very craft centered area, don't you?
yeah, and I would say, like, we're not talking about the experience and the time as well. I've been selling for 4 years, but
Yeah,
just because a craft matches someone else's craft doesn't mean you should sell just as much as they should, because
that's
they put
true.
in time and effort into the selling. Just because the craft matches their craft doesn't mean that you should sell the same, or your item should sell over their item, or just as the same. I mean, there's certain decision making depending on who it is. If it's me, there's decisions behind why I have out what I have out
Yeah,
and how it's set up in a
for
certain
sure.
fashion.
Yeah.
I'm very detailed like that. Like, I'm putting my most popular color and item at eye level because I know it's going to catch their eye the best. It sells the best, so I want that piece at eye
You
level.
should write a book.
I don't want to write a book.
And
Ghostwriter. I
yeah,
don't know.
ghostwriter. I think that yeah, that's true. And also, I was going to say also, it never helps to be jealous of the person next to you, or across from you, or down the way from you, or the only other potter, or the only other person that's similar to you. It never helps. If anything, learn from them. You know, I think that most people are nice enough to share what they're doing that helps them. Some people aren't. Some people are just bitches. But but most people are are willing to tell you. I mean, I can't tell you how many new people at the shows that we do. I can't tell you how many new people we've come in and been like, "Okay, let's just rearrange right now." Like, don't be afraid to rearrange your booth. Don't be afraid to change what you're doing, like, right then and there. Because
Right.
if you're not selling anything and you have a whole day ahead of you, you're not going to sell anything. And maybe it's because of your setup, or because of the way that you're talking. You're not going to sell anything if you keep doing the same thing. So change it. Like, I have literally changed my entire booth in the middle of a show. And it was a total
Right.
shit show. But we did it, and guess what? I sold stuff after.
Yeah, do some experiments in the moment that you can. I did change two things from Saturday to Sunday. One thing was I had a set of glazed pieces that were on the bottom shelf, and I saw that the pieces that were one shelf up did not get touched at
Yeah.
all, like the whole day. So I moved those and I swapped them, and those colors got brought up a shelf.
And did it work?
That was basically like at people's shin instead of at their feet.
Yeah.
And people did pick those up, and I sold at least two pieces off of that shelf
The bottom shelf.
since I moved it up. The ones that I moved up one shelf,
Okay.
yeah. So two pieces sold because, I was kind of prioritizing, like, okay, I should have, I learned from the first day that this color was not resonating as much. And I think this other color could resonate more if it was one shelf up. So, so that's one change I made. And then the other one was my giveaway. I normally have a giveaway piece and I have a sign in front of it. And that was on the table right in front of me, but they had to come into the booth to see it. They had to come up all the way into the booth, and most people were looking at the shelving unit. So I moved the giveaway over to the shelving unit at eye level, right in the middle of it. So if they were inside the booth and looking, browsing the shelves, they could see the giveaway there. And then they could see the little slips of paper to fill it out, and they could fill it out on the shelf. The table had burlap on it, so you couldn't really fill it out on the burlap. You had to go to the shelf anyways to fill it out. So it was right at eye level so they could see it. And then if I saw them gazing at it and looking at it, I would say, also, I'm doing a giveaway this weekend. I have these two pieces, and everyone who signs up for my mailing list this weekend, I will draw two names out. I honestly have not got as many entries as I think I was thinking I was going to get, but I'm still going to give these two away. So you have good odds of winning. And you just fill it out, and I'll draw two winners and let them know this week.
Yeah.
And, like, I was honest with them, like, hey, I'm not getting as many entries as I thought. I'm not, like, it's not a bad thing. I'm just being honest. Like, hey, you have better odds of winning, honestly. So
That's true. Yeah. Gosh, I was going to say something and I forgot. Oh,
So I don't know. There's a lot of things that go into it, and go ahead.
Oh, I think that people underestimate the value of the bottom shelf. Like you, Ryan. I'm kidding. When somebody I know
I was like, what the hell you mean by that?
Somebody I know said that he's like never put anything below waist high. And some of the things I sell the most are below waist high. You know, like my bottom shelf is a very popular shelf. I like to put huge bowls on the bottom because then people look down at them and they see the inside. And the inside's usually where the fun stuff is for me. And it depends. And then, I don't know. Sometimes I'll put things on the bottom shelf and they sell really quickly. I don't put mugs on the bottom shelf, but I like to put big stuff on the bottom shelf because it's not something that people would pick up. And I have shelves. Like, I don't have tables. You know, like Ryan has tables, and so he can kind of like maneuver things on the tables. I just have, like I said, they're 6 feet tall by 8 feet shelves, so that are in my booth.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I think that people underestimate the bottom shelf. Also, I think that it's one of those things too is like if it's not going your way, don't get pissed. You know, like sometimes you're like everything's being terrible. Like it's such a horrid show. Like I've had shows in the past where I go up to people and they're like, "Oh, I'm so mad. Like this is such a bad show." And it wasn't even halfway over, you know? Like you could always have a good show at the end. You could always get a wholesale client from it in the end. You know, there's so many things that could happen. I think that staying positive is the only thing we have. Sometimes, you know, positivity is so important, and it affects the way that you sell so much.
Yeah.
Unrealistic expectations are almost better at a show, you know? I don't know.
Unrealistic expectations. That makes me think that you expect to sell like $1,000 worth and you're at like $250. You're not saying that. You're saying.
I guess what I'm saying is like
leave your expectations at the door and don't.
I suppose.
Don't feel like you have to chase those.
Or just like if you're like be positive until like the last minute, because you could sell $1,000 in the last hour. You don't know, you know, like be.
Yes. Like
it could. I mean, like if you're only at $200 for a whole day, which by the way, I've done frequently. And the last hour.
I've done that too.
Yeah, in the last hour.
Yeah.
And you're like, I fucking wasted my day. By the way, we should have put this podcast as explicit. You're like, I wasted my day today. That's not going to get you anywhere. Instead, be like, dude, you know what might come around the corner? A rich guy who wants to buy 10 bowls and 8 mugs because they don't have pottery for their cabin that they just bought in the woods. You know, like, you don't know.
Right.
You don't know. Also, have good shit.
I have 2 great stories from this weekend. And I'm all about stories, so I'm going to tell it. All right. So, my Saturday started off so well because the folks across from me at one of the coffee booths, they came over and they freaking killed it. They got 2 orders. One of them got she was just admiring the mugs and everything in this glaze. She actually bought one of my mugs at one of my shows in May. She remembered it. She remembered the color. They were right across from me, so proximity helped. So they saw it all day. They saw me setting them up. And then she bought at least 3 mugs. I want to say she bought 4 mugs. And then she bought a pitcher as well. So she spent like at least $130. I want to say she got 3 mugs and a pitcher because then she's got a set of 4 mugs. So 3 mugs and a pitcher. That started my day off really well. And then some other folks from their booth that shared with them like came over and got some stuff for their boss for like a Christmas present, which they're probably not going to know who I am, so that I'm not like spoiling anything. But and then they got like, you know, 2 more mugs and another, you know, one of my carved pieces, and like it was just it was 2 good orders that like put me over like $250 for 2 orders early in the day. So that set me up really well.
Yeah.
And then the second story is about the second day, and the crowd, you know, you can't really affect the crowd that much. You can't affect how many people are coming through the door.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've done your work beforehand, hopefully, that you've talked about it on social. You know, you have it on your website so people know you're there. You've talked about it the week prior that, hey, I'm looking forward to having these pieces out at the show, or you've put Instagram stories out that, hey, I'm setting up on Friday.
And if you don't do this, this is a cue for you to do it.
Yeah, you're building up hype. You're telling people where you're at, because I did get a comment on like a post that was like, oh, I'm in Cincinnati. I wish I would have known about this. I mean,
yeah,
you know, there's only so much you could do. But so the crowd was a little slower. You can't affect that. You shouldn't let that kill your mood because you can't affect it. Like, that's like being upset that the weather's bad. If you just plan as good as you can to be prepared for it, and then, you know, do what you can with what you can affect. You can affect your attitude. You can affect the number of customers that are coming through the door. So get you in the right mental state, and, you know, someone will come along. Like this couple came along, and they were with their mother, or one of their mothers probably, and they were looking at my pieces. They were looking at the beachy glaze. Like I said, bestseller. Best-selling glaze. I told them that, and they were looking at them. You know, I had a bunch of them scattered, and they were picking sets. So they were trying to pick 4, and I did all that I could, having pieces in the back, having pieces under the table, having plenty of it out, so I had a variety, and I gave them a bunch of options. I brought a lot of that glaze with me because I know it's popular. So do your due diligence before. You know, if you're like me, you keep track of everything that sells, so you know that that's a really popular glaze. And you make sure you have enough stock. So I had a lot in the back, had all that stuff. They ended up buying a set of 4 mugs.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that was over probably $130, I think. And then their mother or whoever that was with them bought 4 mugs as well. And she bought 4 of my carved mugs, so my brand new mugs that sell for $48.
What?
So she bought 4 of those. Didn't even care what the total was. Like, it was over $200 for her thing. So just those 2, if they did not show up, like, it might have been a mad day for me. But you never know who's walking through there, and they're like, "Oh, I really like this," and they're gonna buy 4 of them. Like, I was shocked. I was surprised, but it made it a great day.
I love it when it makes it a great day right at the beginning. You're like, yes.
But the thing is, I didn't sell any more. Like, I sold $900 the first day, and I sold $600 worth the second day. So it still wasn't it still wasn't as good as the first day. But if I didn't get those 2 orders for $250, or I guess 300 and something worth, so they were half of my sales for the day.
Yeah.
And like, that made the day. And also, don't call it quits too early, because I got one of the vendors that was walking around at the end of the day, like with 5 minutes left before the day was over. And she was looking at stuff, and she was like, I'm looking for something for my mom. You know, she was looking at certain colors, and she was looking at the pictures. And I walked around, and I, you know, showed her the other 2 pictures, and she liked this one. She was like, that's my mom's favorite color. And I sold her a picture, and she bought a mug.
There you go.
So she, you know, pulled the picture down. She was like, I'll take that. And I was like, do you want anything for yourself? And she's like, you know what? I'm going to get one of these mugs. So she got one of the mugs.
Did you
too.
say, do you want anything for yourself?
I did.
Oh, sly. That's sly.
Well, she was looking at mugs, and she was like, I think I want a mug. And then the picture, she was like, I'll take that for my mother. And then she was like, okay, we've got like a 19-hour drive back to Nebraska, because she's one of the vendors, so she like has a long drive ahead of her. And then, you know, she was like, I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, do you want something for yourself as well? because she was eyeballing the mugs. And she was like, yeah, so she got the mug and, you know, end of the day, $85 worth. Like, bam. Like, you're not done until the day's over. So
You're not done. And also,
I'm
by the way, not everybody does as good a shows as Ryan. So I'm going to say this because he makes a good amount of money in one day. Now, remember that your goal is to make money, but your main goal is to make your fee back. Make your fee back, make it worth it, and then make money on top of that. And yes, obviously you want to make as much money as possible, but if you've made your fee back and you've made a little bit of money, you've made more money than you did yesterday. So remember that. You know, yes, it'll always, okay. And if you're not getting better, then you need to change something, right? Is that too blunt?
No, that's perfect. I mean, yeah, there's so much that goes into it. I mean, if you're not selling anything, it could be that you made the wrong decision of the show. Like, maybe you should not have picked that show. Maybe you didn't attend the show before. Maybe you didn't know what to expect. If you're going into a show blindly, you don't know what to expect. You've never been to it. You don't know the clientele. You don't know what other vendors are going to be there. You know, if you didn't bring the right items with you based on what people are willing to spend cost-wise.
Yeah.
You know, all that, you know, plays into it. You shouldn't be going in blind to any show. You should have an idea of, like, what kind of things you think will market well. And that just kind of comes with experience.
Yeah. I've seen people...
Would you...
What?
Go ahead.
I've seen people in our shows that have come in and they haven't changed a single thing about their booth from day one, and they don't sell well, and they complain that they don't sell well. And then, but nothing changes. Absolutely nothing changes. And so I think that that's something too, you know.
Yeah.
You won't know if it's...
I would say...
Go.
You won't know if it's working until you change something, right?
Yeah.
And you have to iterate on it. You have to make small changes, make little changes here and there. You know, maybe you put a little bit more of put a few more mugs out that have some variety, that give people some options. Maybe you take customer feedback. Like, I took feedback from, you know, some people early on when they were picking up my mugs and they were like, I don't drink this much coffee. I need a smaller mug. And when you hear enough of those comments, you're like, you know, it doesn't add any additional work really to me to use less clay and make smaller mugs. So why not? It doesn't hurt me.
Right.
You know, I've heard a few comments about that. So I'm going to do it. So I make smaller mugs. They don't sell a ton, but I was surprised that I sold maybe 10 or so smaller mugs this weekend.
Yeah.
Normally that's not common for me, but
people always ask me about small mugs and I'm like,
you know, have the right items out there.
Yeah.
Take customer feedback, you know, determine what's worth your time to make. You know, if somebody's asking for a French butter keeper and you don't make French butter keepers and you don't have any interest in doing it, then, you know, just be honest with them,
and tell them where to find it.
What's worth your time and what's worth your effort. Yeah. I am totally happy to see the other potters around, and I will be like, you know, I am perfectly fine referring them to someone else that's at the show because, like, I'm like, you know what, Dennis Allen over there has some jarred items. He might be able to help you. And I'll direct them. I'll be like, he is on the opposite side and he's about 10 booths down. Go find him and talk to him. Oh. Yeah. Do you know Dennis Allen? Is he nice? Yeah, he's very nice.
He seems nice. I only know him on the interwebs. Anyway.
Yes. So be kind. Share. Like, I am all for building up other people around me. Like, if I know somebody makes flat items that are not round, that are squared or rectangular, like, I do not have interest in making that. I'm perfectly fine saying, you know what, Trish McLennan over here at Garden House Pottery, a few booths down from me, makes things that could be what you're looking for. So go see her and whatnot. Like, I'm totally fine doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I was going to say was, you should, if you're early on, you know, first off, you should definitely make friends with other people in your medium.
Yes.
Don't feel intimidated like they're competition.
They're not.
But also, you know, if you're trying to like figure out shows, ask them if could help them at a show, or like volunteer to help them either break down their booth or shadow them a little bit and say, hey, I'd love to help you set up your booth, or help you wrap pots up or wrap items. You know, you'll learn so much just from being a fly on the wall. You know, as long as they don't feel like it's too burdensome, like you're going to bug them all day and like ask them questions the whole day when they're trying to sell. But, you know, I bet you would learn so much from just shadowing someone else or just helping them pack up their booth.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did that with Dennis Allen like 2 Christmases ago.
Really?
And he was totally shocked. Yeah, I showed up at the end of a show because he was like, hey, I've got this show. He always does this kind of like goofy thing where he's like, hey, I've got a packing seminar going on at the end of the day on Sunday at 6 o'clock in Marymount at this show if anyone's interested. And I like took him up on it, and I just showed up like an hour before the show ended. And I was like, hey, Dennis, I'm here to help you pack up your booth. And he was like, really? That's awesome. That's amazing. And he will not turn down help. Like, he is grateful for it. And he'll take it. And that's what I love about him. That's awesome. Like, he's all for it. And, you know, it's not a pride thing where he's going to be like, no, it's okay. And he's like very particular
I'm all about
how it's done. It's, you know, and he'll totally be cool. Like, if he'll tell you to do something and you take direction, you do it the way he like likes it, then like he is all for it. So, you know, do that and just, you know, I got a free mug out of it or something, or, you know, whatever.
Oh, heck
but,
yes. I would love one of
like,
those mugs.
Help your fellow potter out. And, yeah, just be, like, kind and help each other out. And they will be so happy. I done that twice to 2 different potters besides Dennis. And I did it for Amelia Stamps at one of her shows. I mean, we kind of coordinated, so she knew I was going to show up. But she was really appreciative. And she packs up way different than I thought. Dennis is very meticulous and very particular, and she's just more like, get them in boxes, like get everything try to get these items in this box. And like, you'll learn those things and like what's more your speed, what you can steal from them that like you think would benefit how you pack or how you pack your vehicle or whatever.
Yeah.
So you'll learn those things to help you out.
If anybody wants to come help me pack up, all game. No, I'm kidding. I'm not, but we always hire the teenagers in town to help us pack up.
Yeah.
But, wow, that was a lot. I don't know if...
This is a lot.
I don't know if
it's been story time.
I don't know if it was, like, effective. I hope it was effective. Just talking about all those things. But...
That's why... I don't know. I just think giving people real world examples of exactly what I say or exactly what I'm doing and the reasoning and mentality behind it, it gives you more context and it gives you something to work off of so you can understand where I'm coming from and how I get the results I do. It's not like I'm just saying, hi, how's your day going? And then the rest sells itself. Like, you've got to work at it.
Yeah, totally. You do.
And for me, it's talking and building those stories and doing things like that. So maybe that doesn't work for you, but you know, that's the way I found success in selling. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what brings customers back to me, and having things that I give with my bags, you know. At my show, Jamie shared a booth with me and she was like, what are those things you're given with your bags? What are the little slips that you have? And it's like, it's a little thing that has all my business information on it. And inside it says, you know, this thing is handmade. This is how I make it. It's dishwasher safe, microwave safe, all that stuff. And like, everything is wheel thrown. I really appreciate you supporting small business. Yeah. I couldn't do this without the support of, you know, customers that are willing to buy handmade stuff like that. That's like genuine and authentic.
Yeah.
And it gives more value to the things that you're selling. And then the other thing is a little sheet that's like a quarter of a page that has where will I be next? So I do a lot of art shows. So a list of art shows upcoming is helpful. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly where they can find me coming up. And if they ask me and they say, I'm looking for this item, do you have any more of it? Or I would love to find you at your next show if you have more, and I will just give them that and say, here you go. Here's a list of my upcoming shows. Take that with you.
Yeah. That is good.
And
I don't do any of that. I have a sticker.
And the bottom of it has a coupon on it, so it says save $5 off your next purchase of $30 or more. So they have a list of my shows and exactly where they can use that coupon.
Smart. Coupon's smart.
And it also says, like, or you could buy online, and here's the coupon code that you can use. Yeah. So, like, I've only got one of those back this season since I started doing it maybe at the beginning of this year, but it gives them exactly what they need to know. Here's exactly what you need, because I was given the little coupons, and, you know, people lose those, and it's not the best way to do it, but, you know, you tweak and you learn, so.
Oh, can I say something, too? That's, can yes. I say something in my podcast with you? Also, I would like to say that it goes a long way when you pack up your items nicely, neatly, and professional. So, this year I have been, I always, since like 3 years ago, I think, I've always done a roll of paper, and I use a roll instead of doing newspapers. No, I don't recycle, but nobody around me has newspapers. So, and newspapers are messy. They're messy.
What's a newspaper?
Really?
I thought I was going to get a laugh out of you because, you know, the internet, but okay.
The internet.
Whatever.
Anyway, so newspapers are messy. So I get the rolls of paper from Uline. And it has been a lifesaver for me. What do you use to pack up your things?
I use, it's called masking paper. It's in the painting section at Lowe's. It's
the brown paper, right?
It's a roll that's probably like 3 inches in diameter, and it's probably 16 inches long.
Yeah, okay.
So it's kind of thin, but it works.
You get a Uline roll. It'll make your life so easy. It sits on top of the table.
But is it really bulky? Is it longer than like 16 inches
wide?
No,
you can get them however long you want them. I have them, mine is 18 inches, but you could get a 12-inch one. So I have an 18-inch one, and it sits, and I just like throw it in the van, and it has a little stand. It sits on the table, and I wrap everything up, and then I fold it in a way, and then I tape it shut so that the wrapping's not all crazy, and then I put it in the brown bag. And that way, also, if anybody's going to a wedding, or if they're buying a wedding present, because that happens a lot to me, they're like, oh, this was for a wedding this afternoon. I can like crinkle up the paper and put it in, and it looks like tissue paper almost, and so that way they don't have to do anything. That's it, you know. I always put a sticker inside every piece, unless it's like 4 pieces are going to the same person that say like, this is my name, and it has my face on it, and it has like dishwasher, microwave safe. But I really think that wrapping up is like an important thing, and it just adds a whole nother layer, and it's not hard to do, and it's cheap. So it's cheapish. The tape.
Here's one quick Ryan Sly comment as well that I do. I do all the packing and wrapping and all that. I put all the stuff in there. And then I had to critique Rachel to do this because I started noticing it. But it's super subtle. Okay, so all my bags are stamped with my logo. And when I hand it to them, put it logo facing out. So it's like you're presenting them with a bag that says RD Ceramics on it. And you say, thank you, have a good day. So it's just presenting it with the logo on it facing them so that they can see it, and it's like it's the last moment that you're in contact with them, and it's the presentation of it that, you know, that branding is one last thing that like shows who you are, I guess.
You're so
and
extra.
Your attention to detail. I don't know.
I have too many bags.
And then when they're walking around, like I've had other potters that are like, "Hey, I saw some of your bags walking around," kind of thing.
That's true. Bags are actually a really good seller. I go through like 250 bags in like 3 weeks, and I can't stamp all those, so I don't.
Okay.
Probably should put stickers on them,
But yeah, I just stamp them. I have a 4-inch by 4-inch stamp that says RD Ceramics. Super basic, and I have craft bags. Everybody uses craft bags all the time, so
yeah,
your craft bag doesn't really look any different than anybody else's craft bag. So
totally,
I just like that little stamp on there.
It does look good.
Looks a little nice, a little branding.
The stamp is smart. I tried it once.
Yeah, so I was like, Rachel, when you hand this to them, if you do, can you please do it with the logo facing out?
Oh my God. Oh, Ryan, you're so extra.
So
I feel like
That's my last tidbit
it.
for the night.
That's
I think
my cat's name. Tidbit.
so many tidbits.
So many tidbits. Okay.
All right, this has been a good episode. I think I like the format here. So we'll if you all have success stories and like good things that you think is helpful that are nice and concise that could be shared, like let us know on Instagram or something.
Do a story
and
on
we'll share
Instagram
it.
and tag us.
Yeah,
tag us on
we'd love to hear it
wheeltalkpodcast. Is that right?
At Wheel Talk Podcast. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, thanks for listening. We really enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time.
Later.
Bye.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you want to follow me or Ryan, you can follow us on our Instagrams. My Instagram is 5 Lines Pottery Studio. It's the number 5. And his Instagram is at RD Ceramics. That's R as in Ryan, D as in Durban, Ceramics. And we would love for you to follow us, but we would also love it if you gave us a review on whichever platform that you're listening on, and if you tell your friends. We really enjoy doing this, and we hope that we can do it some more and have some great conversations. Thanks!